We've been selected by the Department of Transportation and the FAA as the only tribal government to be involved in some of these emerging aviation pilot initiatives, like the Integration Pilot Program for drones. It's really an interesting story because the Choctaw Nation started from scratch about 5 years ago. They bought this property, and as they were looking at it, they started to say, what could we use this for innovatively? One of the things they wanted to do was keep the property pristine. That's the perfect type of situation for an aviation test range. So we started looking at what would happen if we were to develop this kind of a sandbox, an emerging aviation sandbox, United States. What if we started to develop this? And for the first time, a tribal government steps in and says, okay, we're going to take the lead and try to really innovate in this area. And we realized that these companies need access to places where they can test safely, where someone has the ability to control the ground risks, the air risks, things like that. So we've created an environment that's very unique in the United States that allows these companies to come out and fly very safely, quietly, privately, but in a way that they can move quickly toward getting in the air, certifying their vehicles, demonstrating safety. What's really happening is we're transitioning to new propulsion systems, which are electric-based. Just like we're seeing happen with automobiles, where we're moving to electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, basically electric cars, the same thing is happening in aviation. So we're a very principal player really in this emerging industry, which people are starting to refer to as flying cars or flying taxis. It's really just the next generation of aviation, which is electric-powered aircraft. 5 years ago, if you went to aviation conferences or conventions or trade shows around the world, people wouldn't have known who the Choctaw Nation was. Now we go just about anywhere, people know the Choctaw Nation because they know that we're associated with this emerging aviation technology. So it's been a really exciting time for the nation, but also to see the Choctaw Nation step out and lead, both as a tribal government, but also as just literally one of the governments in the United States that's really starting to move forward and lead in a very positive and productive way for this emerging industry. So if you think about it, if we have these vehicles flying in the next 5 or 10 years, we've beat the Jetsons by about 30 years. And so that's actually pretty impressive. What I really appreciate working for a tribal government is that I've worked for the federal government, I've worked for the state, I've worked at all different levels of government before in my career. And this is the first level of government that I've ever worked with that thinks as far ahead in the future as they do.
Oklahoma thrives together.